It's Melanie Ash from MelanieAshFitness.com, and today I want to talk about food philosophies, otherwise known as the food rules that you need to follow. I'm hearing from so many of you that diet is a major struggle, and part of that struggle is that you're not really sure what to eat and which foods are best, and sometimes something says it's healthy and you're not sure if that's really true. The fact of the matter is we often overcomplicate healthy eating and think that there are secret foods or magic foods, and we're just not sure if we're eating the right ones, when in fact healthy eating is actually pretty simple and you don't have to overthink it. I've narrowed it down to 5 food philosophies that I usually use as kind of a baseline for myself and for my clients to follow, because you're not always going to be able to follow a specific diet or a specific meal plan. But if you have food philosophies that kind of fit your life, that are basically, it's kind of the way you live and healthy eating becomes a lifestyle, that's going to take away some of the guesswork and not knowing what you're supposed to eat and how to stick to a healthy diet. Today I'm going to touch on a few of these food philosophies, and I will put a link here with the video to the full post where you can get all 5. It is at MelanieAshFitness.com. Right now, if you want to check that out, it's under blog. And with that, you can also get my new clean eating recipe book. It is free. It has over 30 of my favorite super easy, clean, healthy recipes. I am not much of a chef in the kitchen. I keep things really simple, but always healthy and fresh with really great, good ingredients. It won't take you a ton of time. So if you go to MelanieAshFitness.com, click on blog, you can find the 5 food philosophies, and you can also get that clean eating recipe book. I will send it straight to your inbox. It is free. And let's go back to talking about food philosophies. So there are just a few, I'll call them rules, but of course rules are meant to be broken. So this is going to be a 90-10 kind of a thing. Like 90% of the time, these are the rules that you live by if you want to eat healthy, if you want to feel good, if you want to move well, and if you want to avoid things that are damaging and harmful to your body. And the very first thing that I recommend for most people is that fresh is always best. The fresher the food, the closer it is to its original state, the state that it's in when it either comes out of the ground, or for lack of a better word, is killed. The closer it is to that state, the more nutrient value it has. And we want to prioritize nutrients and fiber and proteins and things like that from our food. We want to get those healthy things that our body needs from our food. So fresh is always better than packaged or processed. When you're trying to eat healthy, the very first thing you can do to make a dramatic improvement right away in your health is to eliminate as much artificial food, packaged, processed, fast food as possible from your diet. Things like soda, things like potato chips. If it was made in a factory and you can't find it growing out of the ground or roaming a field, it probably shouldn't make up the bulk of your diet. Now listen, I'm not suggesting you can never eat those kind of foods or that they're gonna kill you. But we all know we need nutrients and we need to have vitamins and minerals in our diet. And in order to do that, most of your diet should come from fresh, healthy, nutrient-dense foods. And then you have a little room in between for those treats and those indulgences. And in moderation, those things are not going to hurt you. I know plenty of healthy people who eat ice cream and eat potato chips and eat things that are man-made and are still healthy. However, I also know people who that's their entire diet, and it starts to take a toll on your body, and it can be very damaging for your health, and it can lead to those things like obesity, which then leads to other lifestyle diseases and illnesses. And so when we're talking health and fitness and weight loss, let's prioritize fresh food first. So that is the first of my food rules or food philosophies, is fresh is always best. Eliminating as much of the packaged and processed food as you can from your diet. That's number 2. So cutting out those things, the junk as I think we like to call it, and just finding a way to enjoy them in moderation, here and there in your diet. In case of emergency, yes, protein bars are okay, but should you eat 4 or 5 protein bars a day if you're not eating any actual whole dense proteins and you're not eating vegetables? It's really not the most healthful way to live. And that's, I want people to feel good, and I want you to feel that food is fuel and that food is something that you enjoy, but that you're also doing because it's good for you and you're giving your body something that it needs to function properly. And the best way to do that is to avoid as much packaged processed food as possible and to prioritize fresh foods. Number 3 on the list is to be a label reader. You've got to learn about labels. You've got to know what to look for, because I'm sorry, the food companies, they're trying to sell you something, and sometimes they use deceptive tactics in order to do that because they just want you to buy it. So they'll use certain words or certain labeling to make it look healthy, and as a consumer, you'd kind of trust that and go, okay, this is good for me. And frankly, you have to know what is and what isn't so that you are not fooled by marketing tactics that just want you to buy the cereal or buy the bar. You know, I've seen so many protein bars especially that say healthy, or they use certain words, or they say organic. You know, organic is about pesticides. You are trying to avoid chemicals sprayed on the food. Organic refers to pesticide use. It's important for things like produce when we're eating the skin of a fruit. You know, if you're worried about eating organic, look for that Dirty Dozen list. It's a list of fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticides. Eat organic from that list and forget everything else. An organic protein bar does you no good. I'm sorry, it's not any healthier than anything else. So you have to know that you're wanting to watch out for too many artificial and added sugars. Again, a little bit is okay. It's when you get into, I've seen a protein bar that had like 12 grams of sugar alcohol. That's a lot for your stomach, and most of my ladies said, yeah, they couldn't even, you know, they'd eat half a bar and they'd have, you know, some stomach issues from that, some stomach discomfort. They're hard on your digestive system. So you want to know what to look for. Be a label detective. Don't take anything for granted, no matter whether the store has that, you know, healthy label there. Make sure you pick it up, look at it, read it, and look for things that are lower in sugar. Look for things that don't have a ton of artificial ingredients. If it has an ingredient list a mile long, you're probably better off putting that back and finding something that's a little bit more minimally processed. Yes, shopping the perimeter, that's a true thing. You know, look for your fruits and your vegetables, your lean animal proteins, and your nuts and seeds and beans and things that look like foods that we could find in nature rather than things that are overly processed and overly artificial. And you're gonna have some of those in your diet, you absolutely are. So be sure you're reading the labels so you know what to be looking for. My next food philosophy, these are 5 food rules to live by. You can find it at melanieashfitness.com for the full list, as well as that clean eating recipe book. The next thing on the list is portion control. You know, most of the time, our biggest issue may not be with whether or not we're eating healthy or unhealthy. We maybe are just eating too much. And earlier this week, I talked about, in one of our videos here, I talked about the fact that we're used to seeing portions served to us in restaurants and even, you know, in packaging where it looks like a small serving. And if you read the actual label, it has 2 to 3 servings in one bag, but we look at it and we think it's one. Our perception as a society of what one serving size is completely skewed. That's not our fault, but it's what we've created by having all these oversized dishes and oversized packaging. So if you get into a habit where you know how much is a portion, and you try to eat that every time, make sure that, you know, like I said, when I buy things in bulk, I'll bring that home, like a huge thing of nuts. I'll immediately portion it out into individual servings. I counted one the other day. I brought home a thing of almonds that was like, you know, that big, and immediately portioned it out, and I got 30 servings. And if I eat one a day, that's a month's worth. If I had picked and nibbled from that here and there and grabbed a handful of that, it probably could have lasted me a week and a half. I'm not kidding. I really like almonds. So I could have eaten that in a week and a half when really it was a month's worth when you're talking about actual serving sizes. So portion control is key. And sometimes you have to hold your own self accountable by doing that. If you have something that you know, if it's chips or cookies, you can't stop at just one and you find yourself constantly in there nibbling and picking, bring that bag home and right away, what's a serving? 2 cookies? Get little baggies, put 2 cookies in little baggies. I'm not kidding. You think I'm crazy? You look in my pantry, I've got little plastic bags of foods, because that way I'm only eating 1 serving at a time and it keeps me accountable. It's that mindless kind of snacking, or that, you know, overestimating or underestimating what we're eating when we're picking at serving sizes, and it's like 1 bag and you don't feel like you ate a lot, but if you looked at it, you realize that it was 3 servings, so it was 3 times as many calories as you thought. It's those kinds of things that start to add up that get us into this place where we're like, why am I gaining weight / why can't I lose weight? It's because we're just taking in a lot more calories than we're accounting for if we're not mindful of portion control. And we're talking about food philosophies, food rules to live by, you know, how to make this a lifestyle. Portion control and just being mindful of that in your everyday life is going to go a long way. So what does a portion look like? For most of us, we can kind of look at the palm of your hand, and that's about a serving of protein at a meal, maybe just a little bit less, about the palm of your hand. So, this helps because larger people need more food, and larger people have larger hands. So, a small person like myself, I'm 110 pounds, 5'1.5". That's my palm, but that's really all I need because I don't need as many calories to fuel my little body. So if you say the palm of your hand is a serving of protein, for most women, your fist would be a carbohydrate. So if I was doing like rice, that's 1 serving. You go to a restaurant, how many fists of rice do you think you get in a bowl with some of these dishes? Or pasta? That's gonna be 1 serving is your fist. For most women, most men can usually do two fists. And a serving of fats are much more calorie dense than carbohydrates or protein. It's like your thumb. So if you're gonna have some olive oil, like about the amount of my thumb is about 1 serving. So if I sit down to a meal, I can eyeball that and think, okay, a piece of chicken about the size of my hand, that's a good portion size for protein. I want a carbohydrate, so say I'm gonna have sweet potato with that. It's about a half a sweet potato, maybe a large single sweet potato is about the size of my fist. And then I'm gonna throw some coconut oil for my healthy fat on that, the size of my thumb. And I do that 4 times a day, and there's my entire day's worth of eating. So this is a way that I can be mindful if I'm in a space where I'm not wanting to measure and track everything. I can use that for the rest of my life to kind of eyeball, to know what a portion size is. And over time you learn that if I know what a portion is and I don't overeat, I eat until I'm full and I stop when I'm not, and you start to listen to your body. So again, I'm recapping these 5 food philosophies. I'll put a link to the blog here with this video when I'm done. You can find it at melanieashfitness.com under blog. And while you're there, get that free clean eating recipe book. 30 of my favorite healthy, easy, clean recipes. I promise you, I am not very good in the kitchen. I was telling people for years I don't do recipes because I'm like, well, I put food together and I eat it. But that is a recipe. And so what I've done for you guys is put that together all in one place in one book. I've even included the calorie and macro information for all of those recipes. So you can find that at melanieashfitness.com. So just kind of recapping, we were talking about the 5 food philosophies that help you live a good, healthy life as a lifestyle. Number 1 was fresh is almost always best. Try to eat foods as close to their natural state as possible. Lots of fresh fruits and veggies and those kinds of things. Number 2 is kicking out those packaged and processed foods, trying to avoid them as the bulk of your diet. They have a place here and there, but you should prioritize first healthy, nutrient-dense foods. Next is be skeptical and read labels. Don't believe all the claims that you hear because those food companies are not on your side. I'm sorry, but they're not. And you have to be your own advocate. You have to look at labels, and just because it says it's healthy, flip it over. Take a look at what's in it, what the ingredients are, how many grams of sugar it may have, what the sugar sources are, and just be aware of how much you personally want to consume and whether or not that's something you want to put in your body. We talked about portion control. Just in general, if you buy something at the store and it's a bag like this, make sure you look at the calorie information and know how many servings that's for. Because remember, if it says 210 calories, that's per serving. If that bag has 2 or 3 servings in it and you eat the whole bag, you guys know I'm not good at math, but that's like 600 to 800 calories. And in your mind, you think you're only eating 200. Because so you can see how over time, when you do this, your perception becomes skewed. So make sure you're really paying attention to those labels, paying attention to portion sizes, looking at a palm for your a fist for your carbs, palm for your protein, a thumb of fat. Do that 4 to 5 times a day. You've got a good day's worth of healthy meals. So the last one kind of ties everything together. Balance. Listen, you're not going to be 100% on all the time, but that doesn't mean that if you're not 100% on, you have to be 100% off. And what I find so many of you guys are getting tripped up on is that you want to be perfect and you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to eat healthy, but then I have a vacation or then I have a social engagement. And if we can't execute the plan the way that we had it laid out and the way that we think it should be to make it perfect, we don't know what to do. We're just, forget it. I can't do any of it. And it's either all or it's nothing. That's a mindset. You got to live your life, and your life's going to look different every day. But what you do every day matters far more than what you do once in a while. So there are going to be those days when, look, I wanted to have a piece of cake, or it's my birthday. Look, even I eat cake on my birthday, you guys. It's a birthday. Have fun. Enjoy that. But I don't eat cake every day because every day is not my birthday. So you have to find that balance between, listen, 90% of the time I'm following these food rules. This is a lifestyle. This is how I eat. 10% of the time is for fun. Life is meant to enjoy it. And listen, food is good and food is a source of enjoyment. However, food shouldn't be your main source of satisfaction or enjoyment. And if you find that you're turning to food a lot to give you some kind of satisfaction or feeling or emotion that might be missing somewhere else in your life, then you've got to look beyond that and make sure that you're addressing those other issues that may be causing you to want to turn to food as a source of gratification. Congratulations. We use food to celebrate. We use food to feel good. We use food for comfort. And there are going to be times when that's okay. But if it's causing you to have issues with your weight or with, frankly, your health and happiness, then that's something that you need to explore more deeply. So these are 5 food philosophies, rules, as a way of living a healthy lifestyle. I'll link to the post here with the video, and be sure you get that clean eating recipe book at melanieashfitness.com/recipe book, and it'll get you started with some healthy, easy, clean recipes. It is free, and just trying to make one little change at a time, every day 1% better, and you'll get there. I think too often we try to do all of it at once. We get overwhelmed and then defeated because we feel like we can't succeed. So give yourself some grace. Take a look at these 5 food philosophies and see if you can't start to implement those a little bit at a time, and they'll pay off big time.